This is Sean Cockrell at Pecan Peak Ranch. I'm also the author of the Texas Dog Manual. This is one of the more important commands that you will teach your dog. And that is, I call it the here command. I have a hand signal that goes with it like this in case the dog is far out away from me so they can see it. And I'm calling the dog casually. I'll say, come here, come on, or whatever. That's casual. When I say here, that's a demand. It's a direct command. So there's a little bit different way we want to teach that. We're going to enforce it. So I start off teaching the here command with just getting down on my knees or squat down usually is what I do so I can get up and move around and move around with the dog as needed. So when I'm working with the dog, if I'm trying to ignore the dog, I'll just hold my arms down by my side and I won't give them any attention. But the rest of the time, I'm out moving. If that dog runs by me and I'm ready to catch it, I use my fingers a lot, to catch that collar. But when I'm working with the dog, I'm moving around. And so I'm not expecting, especially a young pup like this right here, to come directly to me and obey just because I gave it the command. I'm doing little bits of what I call microtraining constantly. So step one, teach the dog to come eagerly. So basically, if the dog is coming to you, go ahead and take that little bit of extra energy and thought in your mind to get inside that dog's head and you see that dog is coming to you. When that happens, I'm gonna add the here command and I'm gonna add the hand signal. And then I'm gonna coax that dog to come up as close to me as I can. If he wants to come into my arms at first, that's fine. But ultimately, that dog needs to come to me to the point where I can grab his collar. So I'll just keep coaxing him to get him close. So that's the preliminary to this step. This step is the long line. When working with a long lead like this, it can be very messy. Think about when you're fishing. If you're just throwing your bait out there and leaving the line all lax, the fish is going to come nibble the bait and it's going to eat your bait and you're never going to be able to set the hook. But the same thing is true in this case with a long lead and a dog. Here, the first thing I want to do is get the lead out of his feet and get it set up so that my hand Caesar can have a taut line to tug as he gives the here command, and we're training him. He's with me, but we want to train him to go to Caesar. We're going to use all the same tactics that we used in step one, where we're just encouraging the dog to come. So Caesar's going to call him. This dog is really pretty eager to come, so he's easy to work with. Others are not. The other thing that I want to make sure of is I want the pup standing in an erect, alert stance. I don't want them sitting and I don't want them down, and I certainly don't want them rolling on their backs. I want them in a confident position, and I'm going to encourage the confident position constantly, especially when they're pups, but all the way into adulthood. I want that dog to be in a confident stance. Even if you're going to teach the dog to sit later, I start now. I want them in a confident stance. I want that dog in a ready stance, prepared to receive instruction and training. The reason I want them in a ready, confident stance is because it is very hard to train a dog at the point of submission. Yes, we'll get to some negative training where they do something wrong, but that's later. Right now, we're little bitty adjustments of reprimand to get them to do what I want. But I need the dog to stay in a mode of confidence. It is not possible for me to train the dog very well when they're in a submissive stance. So step one, get that dog into a confident position and a confident head state. The tail, preferably you want that tail out. If it's tucking under, that dog's going into submission stage of their thought process. The hard thing about training a dog in a submissive state of mind is you give them commands and it makes them more submissive. You give them adjustments, it makes them more submissive. So you're just building on that and just creating this submissive pattern that is not good. We're working on a partnership, not a me over you and you just have to submit to me. If you have a super confident dog, yeah, you may be trying to scale that back down to a little bit of level of submission, but we want a comfortable level. So the tail, you want it kind of straight out, up, and you want the dog standing erectly. You want them in close proximity. You want to build that confidence when the dog is close to you, standing confident, and you're handling that dog.
Hey. Hey, good boy.
You gotta manage that. You gotta manage that line. Pescador no puede tener todo grande.
Good boy.
Here you can see this dog is. This is an easy dog. He's very outgoing, and maybe a little too outgoing. So he goes to Caesar, and then he's up jumping on Caesar. Now, we don't love this. So just as I was saying, we want them confident. We want that confidence right in the middle. And also when they jump up on you, it's still kind of a submissive, kind of like when you give someone a hug. But we don't want to correct this with any harshness at this moment. That will come later when you have a problem with dogs jumping up, or maybe you don't have a problem with dogs jumping up. Listen, all my dogs will get up on me and hug me at man level. But when I'm working with them, I need them in that attentive, ready stance, not in the overly excited, either submissive or just, I don't know if this is submission when they jump up like this. And maybe it's the opposite where they think they're controlling you. Either way, it's not in the balance where we need the dog standing, alert, and ready to receive direction. So if the dog jumps up on you, just minor adjustments, the same process that we're using to keep the dog from sitting down or laying down or any kind of rolling around on the ground or anything like that, we can use for the jumping. So we've got a lead and you've got the collar right there. I'm generally very active with my hands, not in necessarily a specific way. For example, if I say here and I tug on a lead, I'm only using that lead as necessary, and that has to be going on in my head, and I'm reading the dog's head the whole time. If I see that dog thinking about straying and going somewhere else, I'm going to use that lead. But that's all my responsibility as a trainer. Just putting the lead on it and pulling the dog to you, that's not enough. You have to watch the dog's head. To keep the dog from jumping up, laying down, sitting down, generally what I will do is keep the dog moving. So if the dog is walking, as long as they're walking, they can't sit down, they can't jump up. So if you can imagine just with your hand, so you had the lead and you've just got a little bit of distance on it, or maybe you just have the collar, either one. I just want to keep that dog moving and slowly wind them down to a stop. If they start to sit, I keep them moving. If they try to, go down, lay down, roll, anything, I want to keep them moving. Once they go to that submissive point where they're sitting or walking and you're dragging the dog, that's not a very effective place to train from. So I want to keep that dog moving and just work with that dog until I can get them to stop and stand erect. They're not trying to jump on me, and preferably they'll look up at me and it's like, what do you want from me? And at that moment, very important, at that exact moment is when the praise comes. And it's a steady praise. I don't want to disturb them. We want to maintain that ready stance. So they're up standing erect and they're looking at you right then. Good boy. Good boy. And I'm just encouraging that this is so good. The dog standing there erect and ready is one of the most important positions that we will work from in all our time ranching and hunting. So that is extremely important to me. And so we're going to work on that a lot in all these drills. We're going to work from that ready stance. When the dog hits that ready stance, and then they try to, if you start to pet them and they just go down and start, just give me some love, just keep it moving. And again, you have to be very active with your hands and your mind constantly. You're getting inside this pup's head, and we're training them, and they don't speak English, so we can't really explain it to them. And we're going to teach them some English, and we'll be able to talk to these dogs just as you talk to your hunting buddies. For now, we have to teach them the English language. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to keep that dog moving. They go down, move them a little bit more. Once they stop and they're standing there, and they may, when you start petting them, they may crouch just a little bit. If they crouch too much, I'll lift them up. But really, once they kind of crouch a little bit and we pet them, encourage them, and I'm building that confidence until they're erect and ready. Okay, and once that happens, I want to be able to pet the dog and handle the dog without the dog going crazy, trying to jump on me and licking me. I've got control with one hand and I'm praising with the other hand. That's the ready stance. That is the best way that I found to train from. Good. Hey. Hey. Here. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy, Ace. Good boy.
Hey, here, here. Here.
Okay. So here you see the pup gets distracted, but my fisherman, my pescador, was not managing the line. This is what I'm talking about. So as soon as that pup starts to get distracted, he's going to the camera man, or I should say kid, Christian. So the pup's going to him, and so Caesar needs to be thinking, as soon as he sees that pup go over towards Christian, he needs to first of all already have that line taut, ready to set the hook on that bass before it spits the bait out. And that is literally the timing that we want to focus on, is that microsecond timing. As soon as that dog starts to go the other way after you've given the here command, this is not a strong correction. You just with a little tug and repeat the here command and guide the dog back to you, and hopefully he'll respond and come to you. Now, because he wasn't managing the line, you can see that the dog gets all tangled up and ends up down on that rolled down position on the ground, where I do not want them, because we cannot train from that position. I need them up in a ready stance. Su trabajo en la línea larga es mucho trabajo. Hey! Hey! Here! Good boy. Good boy. Anticipation is a big part of training. Most all of the training processes I see work for me because I have that micro training mentality in my head. So if you're teaching a dog to come on a long line, you will find instructions similar to what I'm showing you here. And so what I'm adding to this is the need to constantly be inside that dog's head and use the training method as a overall tool, adding micro training all over the place. I like to say that every moment with your dog is a micro training opportunity. Even if the dog does what you want it to do, take that as an opportunity for training. Put commands to the action, develop the relationship, get those little movements. That's really important for a ranch dog. A hunting dog, any dog that you're going to be going places with and doing stuff with, which is every dog, they need to understand the little mannerisms, the little points of, it's not just the here command, it's everything that goes with it and how to develop that relationship with the dog and all the micro steps. That's how you make an amazing dog. Good boy.
Hey, hey, here, here. Good boy.
Hey, here. Good boy. Good boy. A fundamental component of all training of all mammals per Chase Hughes, works for the dog whisperer, it works for people, it works on you, is step one, is getting the focus of the trainee. How do you get the focus of the trainee? That is just being a good dog handler and working with your mind. I don't know why. I tried to get his attention by calling his name. He doesn't really know his name very well right now. He kind of has an idea. It's not like I say Ace, when they're older, someone says Ace and, who said my name? We're not there. So right now I'm using whatever method I can come up with to get the dog's attention. And I don't know why, clapping works, but I just found the light clapping didn't work, but a very loud clap would get his attention. And I do think that may come from me shooting over him, and as a pup, I shoot over him a lot. When we're going to do something fun, I'll fire the gun. When he was a puppy, when he would eat, I'd fire the gun over him. So he's already associated that loud popping sound with something good's happening. So that's what works with this dog. It could be anything with your dog, whatever you say. I can't help you there. That's the part about becoming a dog handler that everybody has to learn for themselves, and they have to learn it with every dog. Every person has to teach every dog every command. There's a possibility that someone could train that command for you and it may work, but if you are not adamant about you gaining the dog's respect and you teaching that dog that command, the dog's not going to listen to you. And it happens all the time here with my hands. They come out and they'll, the dog's trained, yeah, but then over time, if they're not actually training it themselves to follow them, I'm not just giving instructions to an animal that is just so programmed that it does that. It is, I'm teaching that dog to work with me and that I'm another person to respect. What I see happening a lot with my hands is they think, oh, we just feed them, we do the job and everything, and that is important. But every opportunity to train that dog is missed if you're not constantly teaching that dog to obey you. The example I've seen is, I've had ranch heads tell me, well, you call these dogs, but none of them listen to me. And I was like, well, that was a complaint to me from someone working for me. And so, and this lady was well-intended and everything, but she wasn't getting into the dog's head and she wasn't using her personality individually in a relationship with those dogs. So yeah, I call them, boom, yes sir. She calls them, and some of it may have been that she was a woman and I was a man and trained them. I do think there's something to that, but it doesn't even matter, man or woman. Another man's voice, we have the same issue out here. Another man will, come out and he'll have a deep voice. It's not just the tone of the voice or sounding like me. It is that individual. These are living organisms that are complex mentally and physically. So each handler must teach every dog every command.
Hey, hey. Good boy, good.
Right here, everything's great. Caesar does great. Then when the pup gets to Caesar, he just drops down on his bottom and stop the exercise, stand the pup, get that pup confident. So Caesar does a good job of getting him back up. He sees he's got the leash. He's got the pup under control. The pup wants to, you see, it's feeling a little pressure and he's trying to get away and run around and come to me. But Caesar takes a good hold on that leash. He stood the pup back up. We don't want to pressure the pup too much. The reason why he's running around and fighting that lead is because he's feeling a little pressure. He wanted to come there and sit down and say, okay, well, I did good. Let's love on each other. We're going to give him the love into the ready stance, not into a point of submission. Now here, Caesar does an excellent job of dancing when the leash goes around him. Now you might ask, why did I call the dog when it was wrapped around Caesar's feet? The management of the lead is the trainer's responsibility. The timing is also the trainer's responsibility. So we got two trainers here. I'm calling that dog when I see the attention and I'm worried about every split second to get that timing right. And I call him and he comes to me and Caesar dances and gets out of that leash. Good job, Caesar. We got two people working together here. If it's just you, same thing's got to be going on. The timing is critical and you're responsible for managing that lead. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. When this pup gets to me, his name's Ace, by the way. When this pup gets to me, you see he drops down into a sit, and I immediately move that leash and get him back into ready position, and then transfer the love there. There is no good boy when they came and rolled over. On a casual come call, which I might, whatever, come here, boy, whatever, just come here, I'm gonna give you some love. That's totally different. This is a direct command in a working and training environment. He comes to me, I want him to come to me and be proud that we're working together and we're learning. So just like a student in class, you want that student attentive, not, you know, horse playing around or just expecting a ton of attention. No, to the kid, if I'm a teacher, this is not the time where I just coddle you. This is the time to learn math. So open your book, keep it positive. We're going to keep math positive if that's possible. Keep the training positive, but don't let it turn into just a love fest. The love is given when the dog is doing the right steps that you want them to do for the training exercise. This is not the time that we just love on them and let them wallow on us. That time is important. You definitely want that time. However, we also want the time where it's time to work.
Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Good boy.
Okay, this is perfect execution by Caesar. The lead is stretched out. He's got it taut. He gives the command and he tugs it just a little bit at that moment, just enough to get the dog's attention and stirred up, and comes right to him. Excellent. This pup is doing great, and Caesar's doing great.
Right to Bajo. Ace, here. Ace, here.
I use the hand clap, which could be any signal, whatever it takes to get your dog's attention. Get his attention, give the command. He does great all the way to me.
Okay. Ace. Ace, here. Ace. Ace.
Here I made a miscalculation, and it's definitely my fault, because we already know the pup's feeling the pressure and he's starting to decide to go play with the cameraman and do other things and not focus. I don't have the lead handy. I give the command and he doesn't obey. I made a mistake. We make them all the time, but we correct and we get better. If you're giving the dog commands without the ability to enforce it, or when they're not obeying it, you're actually teaching the dog not to listen to the command. I don't want to give a lot of commands where I don't have control at this stage. So I want to give commands where the dog's, going to do, where I'm predicting in my head that the dog is going to do what the command calls for anyway, or if I have control. I grab the lead, get it out like I should have had it in the first place.
Ace, here. Here. Good boy. Good boy. Good. Well, you can stop it.
Now, when we get the lead out very far, the dog's further away, so he's kind of not necessarily listening.
Atención. Con un nombre. Nombre es atención.
Hey, here.
Here.
Hey. Good boy. Good boy.
Caesar uses the lead appropriately, gets the dog to come towards him, but the pup has already decided, I'm kind of done with this. I'm gonna go hang out with Christian, who's our camera kid. And Caesar anticipates it perfectly this time, so he sees Ace heading over towards Christian, pulls him back on track to him, and brings the dog right in. This is exactly the correction that we want. Timing is everything. I feel like if you have guys working here and they want to get everything perfect and I'm gonna do the steps perfect. Nope, that's not the job. That is not the job. The framework for the training is perfect. The training is imperfect. And it is the trainer's job to make those decisions constantly. And all of these decisions are critical to your pup's development. In the future, the dog's name will get their attention. Now they're still learning their name, so I'm using other methods to gain the dog's attention, whatever it is. That tug on the leash is an attention grabber. It's an attention grabber more than it's a guide. You notice that really we're just tugging on the leash to get him going, get his attention, and then he comes back. And Caesar anticipates this very well, because the last time Caesar called him, he went to Christian, and he tries to do the same thing this time. And Caesar stops him, pulls him in, perfect work. These are general training tactics that I have adapted for what I need on the ranch and on the hunt. I hope these videos help you. I think they will help anybody with any dog of any breed. I'm happy to answer individual questions. I appreciate you stopping in for this somewhat boring video akin to mathematics in school. I try to make my videos more entertaining. However, this is very important for everything else we do. I need to be able to call my dog in a demanding way and have them come to me. That's a wrap. This is one puppy training session, start to end. We go after this and we do some more fun stuff. We do some retrieving and go swimming. And so we're gonna follow the mathematics with recess. Thanks for stopping in. Y'all take care.